We're recording. Okay.
This is Obscuria Films Podcast, episode 6.
Romeo is Bleeding.
Picked by Sean Behrens.
And Sean, I have a question for you to start to kick this off. What inspired you to put us through this train wreck?
27% on Rotten Tomatoes, dude.
Is what?
It's 27%. The lowest rating so far in 6. Even lower than Wizards and Orca.
Right. That was a political thing. So.
What, you mean the Democrats or the Republican right?
No, it was political. It was, the early 90s. Anyway, so when I was a kid.
Okay. What, you're gonna explain how it's political now?
No. It just is. It's obvious.
It's obvious. It's political because when this movie maker makes a train wreck movie that's sort of in a Pulp Fiction style, but then Tarantino makes Pulp Fiction, that's not political.
This was before Pulp Fiction.
Oh, so it paved the way. That's true. It was. It come out 7 months before Pulp Fiction.
They were
It did,
at the same time.
That's true. Is there some stuff in the background of this movie that we weren't able to glean from our endless searches on the internet that you'd like to tell us about, since you have all this amazing backstory on stuff? And then you can get into what this movie is.
Sure.
I feel like the fighting gloves are on tonight.
I'm angry about this movie.
Wow. Can't wait for my pick.
I haven't eaten, so
I think that's part of it too. I haven't eaten either. It's,
Well,
Still,
Okay.
come on, man.
all right.
Well, okay, no, it's just this was during Gary Oldman's alcoholic phase.
Noted. I said
And it seemed like that they auditioned for the Jack Grimaldi part, and Gary Oldman got it, but all the guys that came in to audition, they also got parts. Seems like, because that's why you have like a supporting cast filled with like a lot of like names that I was kind of surprised of, because a lot of them were in like 2 scenes, 3 scenes. I'm like, wait, what? But this was written by Hilary Henkin, who
Yeah.
hasn't done much. She would kick around, and she's more of a mover than a shaker, I guess.
Yeah.
And I can see
Went
that.
down her rabbit hole.
Huh?
I went down the Hillary whatever rabbit hole.
we researched a lot of these people, but go on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's about it.
That's all you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw the movie.
All right, so tell us what the movie's
Tell
about.
us what this movie's about.
Okay, sure. It's about Jack Grimaldi, who is a cop who part of his duties is escorting mafia folks who turn state's evidence, and then he tips off the mob about where this mafioso who's going to turn states is, and he gets $65K a pop, and he works that off. He works that up to build a nest egg for himself, but it turns, but the addiction of getting all that money really gets into his head. He's a philanderer, and he has sex with plenty of women in this movie, even though he loves his wife. But he's a philanderer, and he's all like just about every negative aspect of a man. But somehow you still kind of like him, because they used a bookending narrative element in this film, so you kind of root for him, even though that he makes all the wrong decisions. Then he gets caught in the middle because one of his tips didn't go through, and now the mob is looking at Jack as in like, listen, we wanted to kill this assassin, right? And she wasn't there. She wasn't there, Jack. And so now Jack has to find her. A woman played by Mona DeMarkov, played by Lena Olin. And they try to find her, and and then he gets caught in the middle. Then his wife gets involved, and then other girls, and then there's a big downward slope, because he gets his toe cut off. He gets his wife leaves him. He gets beat up a bunch of times. He has to sleep in the car. Even in the movie, he's wearing the same suit for like days, and he's all bloody. And then the end happens. I don't know if I want to give away the ending yet. And then that happens. So that's the narrative. But to me, it seems
I'm quickly going to interrupt and get back. First of all, Sean, you should have been the script doctor that they needed to really pull this movie off, which has some great ideas in it. And also, I did enjoy watching this movie. I was kind of fucking with you, just giving you a hard time. It was a very interesting experience watching this movie on a number of levels.
Because it took 2 days.
Yeah, I couldn't do this in one sitting. I couldn't do most of the movies that we've been doing in one sitting. Some were easier than others, but these are difficult movies to watch for a number of reasons. I've noticed there's a recurring theme happening in a lot of these movies, which I'll get into later. And I think it's just kind of interesting that we, with the exception of Wizards, all the movies that we've watched have a certain thing that they do in common. But anyway, if you haven't seen this movie, definitely, and you don't want the spoilers, stop now, go watch it and come back. But yeah.
It's free on Amazon Prime.
Yes, it's free on Amazon Prime. You see Gary Oldman at his drunkest, which is a compliment.
Right. So one thing I will say, just this needs to get out of the way first. It's the biggest thing that's glaring about this film from the jump is how confusing it is in the beginning. And I would argue that the amount of information that's being put in the way that it's being entered, it's very difficult to understand what you're in until you're about 30 minutes into it and the gangster, that scene at first takes place. That was at least my sense, and Seth also felt similarly, but do you want to add to that?
Wait, which scene where he drops off?
Falcone finally, when he goes to Falcone's compound and he finally has the meeting with Falcone, is played by Roy Scheider.
And a very frank conversation that they have in that meeting.
Okay, so that's when
the movie started for me.
Okay.
And that was 30 minutes. It took 30 minutes for that to happen.
And I think that would have happened.
And that's a problem.
I think that would have happened 15 minutes in if they were following the typical movie structure.
Right.
Judy,
you can see that.
Seemed like that. My assessment.
I was not confused.
Okay.
My only question was in the beginning when he is in the diner and he's talking about himself in the third person, as if he's like, oh, the wedding ring still fits. And I was going, wait, is it him or is it not him? Is it him? Is it his former self? But then once the story kicked off a couple minutes later, I was like, oh, he's talking about himself. So obviously this is like a flashback scene. So for me, it wasn't that.
But the scene in the beginning, you were saying the scene where he's in the bar was a flashback?
Well, no, sorry, flash forward.
The movie was a flashback.
It goes back. The movie starts off and then you flash back, and I guess it's not a flashback, but it goes back in time to let me tell you the story, because it's
right.
A lot of people don't like that stories. They think it's weak script structure to tell stories in voiceover.
Yeah.
I don't think they utilized it too much in the film. So I do think that it gave to the character's psychology, because he's by himself in the diner in the middle. So it'd be hard to write that in it would be weird if they tried to write that as a conversation of some stranger, let me tell you about this man. So for me, I had a little bit of a moment of, okay, what's happening? But I don't feel like it took me out. The only moment that I did think is that, from having watched Jaws and other movies, is that the scene with Roy Scheider as the mob boss, I was like, I don't really buy it. So that for me was but that's, if I hadn't seen him, or maybe it's just miscasting, I don't know, but I just was I don't know if I buy him as this ruthless mob boss with a dirty pool.
I don't buy a single character in this film at all.
Okay, I did.
But I liked some of them. I liked moments. I mean, there are so many things about this movie that I love. So many things. I mean, I'll start with I got really distracted about 15 minutes in with how absolutely stunning the cinematography was. I mean, it was some of the most gorgeous cinematography I've ever had in my life, and that was really distracting me. I found myself not even paying attention to the storyline. I'm just every shot, I'm just whoa. each one of these is like a masterpiece. This is just like a movie filled with one it's like, forget about the story. You know what I mean? It was, I was so distracted by everything about the movie that I couldn't really follow the movie. I was so distracted with incredible performances from Gary Oldman. I was totally distracted by incredible accents, incredible cinematography, and and the only thing that wasn't great, which in my opinion was actually terrible about this movie, the worst part about this movie was the screenplay.
Let me just say this.
The concept of the story, the idea, this is a script that doesn't work for me.
Why?
The pace, I don't know. Why can you psychoanalyze me, Seth? I'm really not that smart.
No, you're smart. I think that when you watch a movie and you start looking at shots and you start looking at scenes isolated, saying that's really good, I believe that's the first one I really like, or you like isolated, these characters are like extremely interesting, but I don't buy how they're interacting with each other. You're starting to see the reason why we created this podcast in the first place, because you love a concept or aspects of the movie. And this movie is like, has geniuses in it. Like Walter Murch, the editor.
Abram, go ahead.
No, I agree with you.
Walter Murch, the editor, and the cinematographer, whose name I forget.
I know. Let me try to pronounce the cinematographer's name. Darush Wolski.
Yeah, it's a Polish
maybe, but hold on. This was his big break, because after this movie, he did The Crow, then he did Crimson Tide, which are great films. Then he did A Perfect Murder.
Oh, yeah, this is the greatest. I mean, I would say this is some of the greatest cinematography I've ever seen in my life.
But before that, he just did a lot of music videos. This was his first film.
We could do I know we could do an entire podcast just on the cinematography of this.
I can't pronounce his name. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Darush?
Hungarian Jewish guy who was born before the war, somehow survived the Holocaust or whatever.
Yeah, he was born in
about that, but then he left in 1956 to go to England.
Yeah.
Wait, that's the director.
No, the director.
That's the director.
The director is English. He did The Ruling Class.
But the director's the director is the one who's originally from Hungary, right?
No, I think that's
the cinematographer.
Let's look him up.
Hold on, here I go. I had it.
He knows more about movies that he doesn't pick.
Well, you got to go like notes.
Sean is like Mr.
I'm trying to find it, man.
Mr. Trivia.
In the meantime, while you guys are looking, I want to talk about something that was amazing. One of Isaac's bros was watching the first part of this movie with us, and he said, "Wow, Juliette Lewis sounds just like Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street." Right. So I looked up the dialect coach. This guy has 199 films under his belt as a dialect coach.
Shout out to Stephen
Thomas Kirshner for having an amazing ear. And he was the dialect coach on Wolf of Wall Street. He's worked with everybody. Like, he is a star's dialect coach.
So you're saying this movie is a hub of geniuses?
It's a hub of geniuses, but
with a screenwriter who had a great concept, but needed that concept to be taken away from her, like they did with the David Mamet situation, where he basically rewrote the whole thing in Wag the Dog. That happened with this very screenwriter. So that's what needed to happen this time, but didn't happen. Hello.
Oh, hey.
Hi,
hold on.
That's my biggest critique of the film. The screenwriter needed a doctor to come in and fix.
Yeah, I kind of like it, but Peter Medak was Hungarian born, but he's British, born in Budapest.
He's the director.
He's the
director during the Warsaw Bloc, and then he fled to England at 18 during the bloody uprising against the Soviet regime.
Right, but okay, yeah, great. So he had an interesting career. It looked somewhat strange.
He did the Ruling Class.
But this the one who I'm really freaking curious about is the guy whose name you couldn't pronounce, Darius.
Darius.
Okay, so that's why I was confused, because they're both Eastern Europe. He's a Polish guy who's younger than the director. The director is like 20 years older than the cinematographer. This cinematographer has done, okay, personal life. He attended film school in Lodz. What's with these Polish guys with this amazing eye for, for shots? What he did Pirates of the Caribbean, Prometheus, The Martian. Okay.
He's Ridley Scott's new cinematographer.
I bet.
This guy is, I think it's just some of the most virtuosic shots I've ever seen in my life. That do so, there's so much going on in these shots. They're so brilliant. I don't know.
It's like a coffee table.
I can't stop talking about it.
It's like a coffee table.
It's like a coffee table. Exactly. It's like,
yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of weird. Yeah, and there's I just like how they did the movement too, because it wasn't just like here's the scene, cut to one, cut to the other. They really did some things in there. But to go back to the narration, that's true. Any screenwriting class will say narration is a sloppy way to show the character's emotions. But if you look at every movie that gets released, about like 15% of them start off with narration because it's just like a good way here. The way I like that Hillary Henkin did it here is that it's that he's talking to himself in like the second person kind of. He's like removed. And I enjoy that because in the end, he's a different type of guy because he went through like a trifecta of all these chicks. Because each one of those women he sleeps with in the movie is like a different side of his personality. And Judy mentioned earlier when he was talking in like the restaurant with his comps friends about halfway through when stuff really started going bad for him, he's like thinking in his head, and he's like talking to himself. And I kind of just like that stuff because if you have like one thing, it kind of bleeds into the other stuff, and I just enjoy that because it really didn't have like a lot of rules to begin with. And it's true. It's like, yeah, I guess the beginning of the movie is kind of confusing. I've seen it over 30 times. And if we talk about it some more, at the end of this episode, I'm going to want to watch it again. No, I'm going to want to watch it again at the end of this episode.
Have you watched it 30 times?
Because it's amazing.
No, what you're saying is that actually the truth, that you actually did watch this 30 times?
Yes, I had the VHS when I was a kid. I bought it.
Okay.
That's one of those.
All right.
Yeah, one of those.
That's when we do this
So
podcast.
when you were a kid, when you first watched this movie, you probably didn't really understand what the hell was going on if you were a kid, and it's already confusing enough. So you're everything makes
14.
sense to you everything you get this film from the perspective of somebody who's seen it 30 times. You don't remember what it's like to be somebody who's never seen this movie before.
Let me just say this. Yeah, I get it. But that's one of the things I like about it is that it's very poetic, kind of like a neo-noir. It's from those noir films. I kind of dig the noir. Every time I see a DVD box set, I bought like 2 of them. And I
like film noir theoretically, but the thing that's funny about film noir and why it's so easy to make fun of film noir is because a lot of the original old school film noirs, they got so convoluted that the loose ends don't really get properly tied up, and it's just sort of like a jumbled soup.
Sure.
And it never really gets made. Like The Big Sleep is one of my, I'm not going to say it's one of my favorite movies, but I've watched The Big Sleep a bunch of times. It's a very enjoyable movie, but it's incoherent. Just, it's a fact. It's just incoherent. Like you can try to get the blackboard and do whatever, but there's just certain things that don't make sense. And I found that like almost like this was trying to be. I felt like this movie almost felt like an abstracted version of that. Like it's like a movie about a film noir movie, like making fun of film noir while being a film noir, and like it was like almost like trying to be some new genre of film that's never been made before. And and I guess maybe I do need to see it 30 times. But like something tells me I'm still gonna be confused.
All right.
About like all right. I want to hear what Judy has to say about this movie.
On my children.
Likes, dislikes, insights.
The trifecta. Go ahead.
So I'll say first off, my son woke up when I was like 20 minutes of the movie left, and I was like, I'm finishing this movie tonight. And so he was riveted and horrified.
Look at this. Well, hold on. Let me put on my sunglasses
his
for
eyes
this.
off the TV, but he was like, and I was like, look away. And he just was like, I was like, is this child abuse?
No.
No,
So-
he'll be fine. My
Like-
dad used to watch movies like this all
This
the
is-
time with me at a formative age. And
I saw
Okay.
Aliens at 7 years
15
old.
months old, so he didn't really get it. He just saw fighting and he didn't like it. Anyway, I'm torn because I would say I definitely liked the film more than I disliked it. I felt that, and this goes to the writing as well. It did understand women. There's a lot of times movies, they make women who are so one-dimensional that there's different aspects that they're highlighting. I didn't like Lena Olin's character, but that wasn't, I just didn't like her. You know, that wasn't a knock on the movie or anything. I don't know, maybe that's just from me being a woman. I don't like her. But I did like the ending because I felt like it evoked an emotional response. I watched the movie and I won't get into spoilers, but I had sort of a like, oh, will this happen? And I sort of was looking at it, well, I guess there might be spoilers, but I was like, I could understand his side and I could understand his former, I guess now ex-wife, I don't know, wife. I could see her side too. So I was sort of left torn. And then as far as, the whole, they make a reference in the bar. I did like too how it sort of reminded me of like old school, I don't know if it was in New York, but just sort of like a time when the world was crazy differently. So I had like some nostalgia watching it.
It has a real 90s
I wish I could go
vibe.
back to that time. What?
it has an incredible 90s weird resurrection of the film noir.
Yeah, and my husband watched most of it with me and he was like, oh, the city was so great back then, with like the graffiti and like the danger. And so I do feel like it's a little bit calling back to that. I mean, there's moments of, as a writer and actor, I say that I'm torn because I kind of like movies that don't fill in every single gap. I kind of like movies that leave it up a little bit to the viewer to sort of discuss it, instead of, as I've seen other movies, like everything is just like put out there for you, like you're a complete moron and can't figure out anything or like think for yourself. So I do like that. I will say what it was, and I don't know if this was a decision made in editing, because I didn't actually read the screenplay. But it could have been shots that went on for too long because it was so pretty. So it might have been something that wasn't actually in the script. Oh, they're doing fireworks now outside. That's my husband and my baby, the 4-year-old. Anyway, so it could have been a decision in the editing room or with the director to sort of, which is the thing that I love and also don't love about movies, is that it's such an ensemble piece of artistry that sometimes you don't know, is this a problem in the direction? Is this a problem in the script? Or is this a problem in the editing room? So there were some moments where I felt like the pace was a little bit slow, and things went on too long, where I was like, all right, let's just move to the next piece.
Yeah, well, my
I'll
friend
pick up for the
Steven was
screenwriter. I don't know if that was her.
Sorry. Yeah, I think my friend Steven, who was losing interest much quicker than we were. If you want to just take like your average Joe who is not doing this as a project for a film,
Yeah.
he was checking out immediately. And I think, and I was like, so we asked him, he's like, what's the problem with this movie so far? Like 30 minutes into it. And he says, it's just a lot of non sequiturs. And I don't know that that's actually correct, but that was his reaction. And he's a smart enough guy, but like it wasn't working for him. It just, the pacing wasn't right. And that there was an uneasiness to the pacing, which was distracting from the story. And that's why when I said like the first scene, for me, everything was a setup. Like it was a very, very long introduction, a 30-minute introduction. And then the story starts when they're at this rich gangster's villa or whatever it is. That to me was like, that was takeoff. And then I'm in then I was in the story. Now, as somebody going back and watching it again, I might be able to get into the story earlier and get all the setup and get into that, or not. Maybe I could do it more easily, but it really very strongly felt to me like this movie didn't start until 30 minutes into it. And Seth had a similar impression, if I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's 4 acts,
4
It's
acts.
4 acts.
kind of like in
Five.
yeah.
But that's
Maybe
like
five.
the
Like
problem
in-
with that is that like you have like, okay, we were talking about Usual Suspects and how that movie breaks all the rules and whatever, and it works. But that's because the person who made that movie is on some next level jujitsu type of shit. I think what we're dealing with here is a woman with this screenwriter with a great concept, very interesting novel concept, but not the just doesn't have that black belt fifth Dan ability to pull it off.
Well, I wonder too if it's that it's the whole movie is a bunch of unlikable people.
That's another big problem I
I
have.
mean, I can relate, like, not, I can relate, but I can understand
what?
them.
Okay,
But there's not anyone in the movie except maybe like the one that I actually liked is, I forget the actor's name, but he's the one where he says, "She took my gun," and she pointed the gun
Will
at me.
Patton. He's
So,
a great
yeah, I've seen him in
actor.
a bunch of movies.
He's a great
He's the one
Will
that I actually
Patton.
liked the best, right?
He was great, yeah.
But everybody
always
else
good.
is sort of like, it's a, I don't know if it's it's kind of an anti-hero film, but like everybody is, even his wife, like she clearly doesn't really, I don't know if she loves him.
He doesn't
She
have
loves
the
him.
guy. Gary Oldman's character doesn't. I don't have a shred of sympathy for this guy from the jump. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this disordered human being? I just can't get past that. Like even gangsters, like bad guys in Tarantino films have some thing that I can see myself in. I couldn't see. Not only did I find his character despicable, but just completely unbelievable. Like whatever motivated this guy to get into the situation that he's in just doesn't make sense to me that he's gotten into this.
That's what I say. And Judy, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because
Hold on,
Jack
I have to go get
Grimaldi,
my son.
okay, Jack Grimaldi is everything wrong with men because it's written by a woman.
Who doesn't understand what makes men tick.
Okay.
Fair back.
All right, that's
I
okay.
would go further than that. This is what's coming to me as I'm watching this. The screenwriter really isn't interested. The actors are doing all this work, but the screenwriter isn't really interested in a real cop story, a real mob story, a real assassin story. They're all archetypes. Anything you see is work done by the actors to make a real wife, a real cop, a real, like, this is the way they eat, a real guy. Like, she's not concerned with any of that in her story.
I know there's plenty of that.
I don't believe for a minute she ever interviewed a real cop, I don't
Probably dated a bunch of cops.
She
You
dated
have
a
sex with police officers. You don't need to talk to
He's
them.
making stuff up.
Oh, he's making stuff up.
No, I'm sitting not.
Okay.
It was the 80s. It was the 80s.
When Milton Kitselis made Report to the Commissioner, which, by the way, I saw when I was way too young with my dad, so this is
Okay.
full circle. He interviewed 100 cops.
Yeah.
He interviewed 100 cops, and he was like, and cops are different in different cities. So I made sure, like, I interviewed New York City cops because that's what I just don't believe that anyone is doing that research except the actor and maybe the director in this. I don't believe the screenwriter did any sort, and she doesn't have to. It's a neo-noir. I get it. It turns into kind of like a Looney Tunes later, but
It did. That's the thing. We said about halfway through when all the action's starting to get crazy, it felt like I was watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Roadrunner. You know, and that's kind of awesome. Like, you know.
And that's one because it's like, yeah, because he's okay. The little things. When they cut off one of his toes, when Roy Scheider cuts off one of Gary Oldman's toes,
It's like no longer a real movie at that point.
well, no, he's wearing a Converse All-Star shoe.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's crazy because he's only wearing one Converse All-Star and his other shoe is the same shoe. So it was like he's such in a frenzy. He only put on one Converse All-Star, didn't have the 30 seconds to put on the other shoe and like got out of there. And that was like a third of the movie. He's wearing that one Converse bloody shoe
Yeah, I
and
didn't get that.
this and like whatever because he cut off the toe.
You
I
need
just
to
like
be able
those
to make a movie with this much complexity in such a way that the vast majority of even below average of intelligence people will catch these things. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
No, I get it. Yeah, it is. I mean, you're saying complex as not a compliment, which is
yes,
cool.
Yes, too much complexity, too many abstractions.
And then,
like I say this all the time. Let me explain something through music.
All right.
I'm a musician,
All right, and then
and
I'll talk.
I'm a
I'll
structure
respond.
guy, and I'm very, very serious about things having a structure that work and breaking. And you can break the rules, but it has to be done in a way that works. I explain this to people about music all the time. The reason that a certain type of music works is because not every single thing about the music is complex. You can have a complexity in rhythm, you can have complexity in melody, and maybe even complexity in harmony at the same time, but you can't have complexity of rhythm, complexity of melody, complexity of harmony, and complexity of texture. You just can't do it. This movie, every aspect of it is complex. The shots are incredibly complex. The story is complicated. The details and the textures are complicated, and it's too many layers of complexity, and that's what makes it not work for me. Classical music can't have, you can't have Mozart and then add really complicated layers to one of his symphonies of like crazy counter rhythms going on. It would just be too much. You can have Stravinsky, who's got really complex rhythmic stuff and weird layers of harmony over each other, but it doesn't have a really complicated melodic and harmonic story that it's telling.
see, you're smart, Isaac. You're not dumb.
Okay.
See?
Right. But it took me a while to figure out that.
No, yeah.
I don't understand what Isaac's saying right now.
I understand. It's like it's
No,
like
I'm saying
static.
every element
It's
of
like
this
static.
movie is very complicated.
Yeah,
Every aspect, the acting is very, you know what I mean? It's like
layered.
very
I believe is
layered.
the word for the acting.
I think,
Layered
I mean, to
performances.
me, it's like because it's like that film. You hear that? Motorcycles outside, because.
You all right?
What are you smoking this week, Sean? Just to
It's Delta 8.
Delta 8.
Yeah, it's a new thing. But no, it's each woman in the movie is a different aspect of Jack.
That's just good screenwriting now.
I just
That's like basic profiling of a screenwriter. Like every character in a dream is you.
Right, that's what Robert McKee says.
So
That's a Robert McKee technique. Yeah, but that's what I like. And you explore this guy through his confusing motivations as why does he cheat on his wife? Why is he loyal to his mistress? Why does he, sell out his cop buddies by being the dude who tips off the mob about killing the people? And one of one of the inciting incident, I guess, for the story is where Jack says, "Hey, yeah, he's in room 515," but the assassin kills everybody, and there's a lot of cops. And now Jack is like weird about that because he's like, "No, I'm not going to do this anymore. Don't cops. That's my deal." So he has some shreds of morality there. Even in the beginning, when he's at that diner, you don't know why he's there, and it's going into this narration. There's no dialogue, and he goes through, and he gets this. He puts on the ring, and he's talking in this weird second person. But then you see there that he's a man who went through a lot of pain. Sure, it was because of his own doing, a lot of it, but he still went through a lot of pain, and he came out the other end. And him being at that diner is kind of like him being hopeful. And you go through the movie with that. So you see him like at his best in the beginning, and then you kind of see him at his worst as like after the narration and the movie starts. And then you see all these chicks. I just think that's fantastic. Even like the point where Annabella Sciorra, who played his wife, she does everything for him. She's when he sits down for dinner, he's like, "What is this?" And she's like, "It's chicken francesense." And Gary Oldman says, "What about whatever happened to meat potatoes?" Right? And then there's like some chiming. There's the musical design I thought was amazing too. But there was some chiming, and so Annabella Sciorra,
like a Sean, you're kind of this way you're talking right now reminds me of like a little girl in a candy store who every time she sees a shiny thing here, oh, I want that shiny. And then there's this shiny thing and that shiny thing. And that's what this movie was for me. A bunch of little shiny,
Right. Yeah. And you put them together. But no, Annabelle Sciorra, she reaches for the gun. and she points it at Gary Oldman, and she's like, so Gary Oldman's like, what happened to meat and potatoes?
What's that about?
What was the point of that in the story?
I'll show you. I'm about to get there. So he says, what's meat and potatoes? What happened to meat and potatoes? And she gets for the gun after making this dinner, and she goes, I don't know, Jack. And then the chimes, non-diegetic chimes, and then they see, and it's like a weird editing thing, and you don't know what's going on, and then he has these weirdo memories that I don't know if they're memories of another chick pointing a gun at him, winking, and then Annabella Sciorra is back in the kitchen, and she winks, and she puts it down, and he's like, what? And she's like, I gotcha, but you don't know. Maybe she did want to kill him because of the stuff you find out later on. Then the movie creates a pleasurable egg in your brain, because the timeline, it goes in the end and you find out what happened in the beginning. You're like, wait a second, she knew the whole time because of the photo album in the end, remember?
What?
They did
Yes!
that up. Yeah.
Wait, what about the photo album at the end?
Annabella Sciorra was taking pictures of all of Gary Oldman's mistresses. Remember when he got her the Polaroid in that scene I just described? He's like, they got it. Huh?
We didn't pick it up.
I'm asking.
We're dumb.
Okay, in that scene in the kitchen, there's a lot. If you go back and rewatch it, he even asks her, he gives her a present, and it's more, and he says, someday I'd love to see the work that you've been doing. And she says, well, I've been working on something for you. And basically she's just been, I don't know, following him around, taking pictures. She takes a picture of him, she puts it in front of him. So at the end, when you see the photo album, she knew the whole time. So it's all there.
All the broads that being a dog with.
All of them.
Yes.
Including Mona. Well, kind of. There's no.
Yeah.
Mona's ripped out for Brooke.
Well, she's blank because she didn't know about Mona. But Gary Oldman did, maybe wrote Mona.
So this is the wife's MO.
Yeah.
Why was she playing that game, and why did she take so long to confront him?
Exactly.
But then also, didn't she confront him before the whole thing with the toe? She confronted him about did she say something about him screwing her sister?
Right, because Gary Oldman got her another gift, a better gift, an expensive bracelet, and even when she got the Polaroid, she said, Jack, I don't know if I did something good or you did something really bad or something. I don't know if I've been good or you've been really bad. And he like gives a wink. And then later on, before the toe, he got her this expensive bracelet. And she's like, did you sleep with my sister this time, Jack, or just my niece? And then she gives it back because she knows that he cheated on her again. And she's like still there, but breaking away. Then in that same scene, she has a little monologue, which a lot of characters have, which I think I love that stuff. But she has a little speech where she says, you know what, Jack, you know what I'd do if I had $1 million? I'd buy myself some happiness. Mm-hmm. And all those, you don't get it by being poor. You don't get it by being good. And all those rich people, they were lying. And even now, I'm saying it now, I'm getting goosebumps. Because it's just like, that's just like such an honest trope. That's like, yeah, if I had $1 million, I'd buy myself some happiness. The hell with this Zen Buddhist spiritual crap. I know what's going on here, and let me get that. And even all the other characters, they had similar speeches.
That was the best one of all, though.
I suppose even the one with Sherry, who plays by Juliette Lewis, she says, you know what I like about my man? She's like, you know, when I get catcalled on the street, I ignore them because I know whatever they got, my man's got better. You know what I like about you, Jack? You have 2 guns, one for them and one for me. And I thought it was kind of cool, the little touches. But the little touches were like she has it,
but I don't understand what she meant, like what she was implying. Like that line didn't make any sense to me.
Okay, all right. It means she's kind of more simple.
Convey when she says that.
She's like the aspect of Jack's personality that just wants like some subservience and sex, because a lot of the time he's just sitting there and she's dancing around because it's implied that he could only get an erection when she dances around for him, you know, and he makes her play this game on her work break when she's a waitress, she's a cocktail waitress, and on her break, that's when he comes in and screws her and he makes her do all this stuff.
The most sympathetic character in the whole thing.
Yeah, I think she's, but even in the second scene where he's doing it again, he's on the phone and she's like, "Are you hard yet, baby?" And he's like, "It's not easy." And she's like, "I know." And she keep with this look on her face. But that's like, she was like that, chicks just for sex aspect of his personality, and Annabella Sciorra, the wife, was like the home. And Mona DeMarkov was like the danger, what's the danger in sex if you put them together? A fetish or a kink. Yeah, she's the kinky side. See?
Okay, I think I understand this movie.
The costume design on the three women is great.
I think I figured.
Yeah, we'll say that. The costume design, like I was watching this and I was so guys, you know what I like about this movie? Really? The lingerie. I really like the lingerie in this movie. So I don't know who the designer was, but whoever that was is the costume design on the women is really quite beautiful.
It's
in a
like,
time when there were an awful lot of
I'll say
women
with
half naked.
Juliette, the Sherry character, their interactions actually made me dislike him more.
Yeah.
Because she clearly loves him and he's a dick to her.
Yeah.
Like a total jerk, emotionally, like basically emotionally abusive to her. And so it makes me wonder what her, upbringing is like. And it just like, I just feel terrible for her because she's clearly so into this guy who's just mean to her. And so for me, it made me root less for him. Not like I don't really care anymore. But I'll say that like his acting is amazing. So it made me root more for the women in that. And there were some moments that I was just like, so I'm just going to go to something else. There was a few moments that I was like, I think they're pushing it just a little bit, like the car accident. She gets out of the car with the bag, with the handcuffs behind her back, and gets the death certificate and manages to get out and run away. And then like it was great.
That's where Seth was saying it turned into a Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yes. And then even at the end, so my husband had to go outside at the last like half hour. So he missed a lot of it. And he came back and said, okay, tell me what happened. And when I told him what happened, he was like, how would that even happen? Like that was his answer. Like, why would they just let him go? And I was like, well, I guess they maybe wanted to, cops maybe wanted to like bury it under the rug. I don't know. I'd have to ask a cop.
No, it's okay. It's all right. First of all, Mona DeMarkov is an A1 class assassin. She could be part of the Avengers. Okay, that's what she could be part, like her and Black Widow, Mona DeMarkov and Black Widow, same. Don't even, because she's all Russian and weird and stuff. But it's like, yeah, I could see. But my thing was like when she reaches up with her legs to choke him from the back seat, that was a little weird because if you look at her, I'll tell you this, when I was a kid, I wanted one of that car, the powder blue Lincoln. That's still my dream car.
Your dream car is a powder blue Lincoln.
Second, yes.
One of us might be able to, one day, if we're successful, get you your dream car.
Yeah. When this came out.
If I make a lot of money, I'll buy you one of those.
Yeah, me too.
It's a nice movie. I like those. I like I like those kinds.
Or if we ever have a chance of becoming like, what are they called? Influencers. If you're watching this show and you can get Sean a powder blue Lincoln.
Who's a Lincoln would do it, right?
It's a Lincoln. Yeah, that's a Lincoln.
He wants that car. So if you like the show and you're watching it, if you're one of the 23 or 24 subscribers that we have right now, that's the first gift we want.
You guys, we can film an episode from within the confines of the car.
Because it's huge. And it's powder blue and it's beautiful and it's comfortable and it's America.
When we make this dream come true for Sean, we will.
We'll shoot
it in the car.
We'll shoot it in the car.
Maybe we can even get that car, but they seem to have crashed it pretty badly.
There's plenty of other 1980 Lincolns out there.
But wouldn't your dream to have the one from the film that's your favorite weird film of all time?
I mean, well, yeah, but you guys work on it and you get back.
Rather have Axel Foley's shitty blue Nova from
No,
Beverly Hills.
it's all right. Let me just say this. When this movie came out, I went out and I bought the soundtrack when CDs were $20 and Nirvana was in their prime. And I bought that.
A little
And I
trivia about
rocked
the
it out. I
soundtrack.
don't know how many times. And I'll tell you this, I'm not into smooth jazz. But that was fire.
Well, like I said, everything about this movie was badass except the movie itself.
So the first note of the soundtrack,
But it's amazing.
it's amazing, but there's this held annoying note. The first note of the movie, but it's held for a long time, and I was like, who did the score to this
It
movie?
made you pay attention, though.
Why?
There you go. I win the argument.
No, there's no
Yeah,
argument.
I did. It made you pay made you pay attention.
Who this guy who scored it was, and his name is Mark Isham. And then I played Connect the Scientologists. Juliette Lewis, Mark Isham, and possibly James Cromwell.
He's in it. Yeah, Ron Perlman has one scene.
Roman.
I wrote it down. Will Patton, which I always love Will Patton. Judy, I don't know if you've seen No Way Out from 1987.
It sounds really familiar.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a Costner film. But he has a bigger role, and he really is amazing in all his stuff. He was in the Mothman Prophecies as well.
Yes.
He was really good in that. I've seen him already. He was like Gone in 60 Seconds. He's been around. Dennis Farina has a giant monologue, which I always
He's
do.
a real cop in real life. Was a real cop in real life.
Oh, was he? He
Yeah.
seems it. He was like, don't Lou make a nice fire. I just that's
Dennis
really,
Farina is
it's
my
really
favorite
creative.
cop.
Michael Wincott from The Crow is in this.
Who?
Michael Wincott.
Okay.
He's from Alien Resurrection. He's from The Crow. He was the bad guy in The Crow.
Oh, yeah, it's the bad guy in The Crow.
He was the assassin from The Three Musketeers. Disney's The Three Musketeers.
Might have been the
He
guy
was
who-
in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He had an eye patch in Three Musketeers, and he was Alan Rickman's evil friend in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I thought he was great. I did. Oh my god! Like all their scenes together. Even they shot down the Wonder Wheel Park in Coney Island. They shot there, and they closed that down. I thought that was really, really cool. You know what? I did like the cinematography.
Those Coney Island scenes were probably the most gorgeous, most memorable shots of the whole thing.
Yeah, I kind of like it because I could see your face. It's like, who's going to go to Coney Island in a suit? I understand that because Michael Wincott was in his suit, but I don't know. At least for me, with this type of style, that it hits the tone kind of perfectly. You know.
I liked Roy Scheider in a shirt and tie with a smoking jacket.
Yeah, that was cool too. He just had a robe on with a tie, but he just had a robe on. He's like, "Hey man, have some. You want some coffee?"
That's
Have
what,
some
so all this now we're at a point now where it's making me wonder if like this film was just all one big dream.
Yeah, that's what I like about it because you don't know if these people are real and can Jack get away with all this stuff. And
They
this and
seem
that?
the characters seem to do stuff and behave in ways that I've never seen in real life, but I have seen that kind of stuff in a dream before. And like I guess one of the things like, you know, I guess that David Lynch gets criticized for when he does is that, you know, all of his movies kind of do that on some level.
Yeah.
You're not a fan of David Lynch, am I
No,
correct?
I am. I'm a
You
fan.
are, okay.
It's just like everything after Mulholland Drive was just like, buddy.
Well, but that was
Come on.
the bulk of the stuff he did was Mulholland Drive in earlier. But
Yeah, that's a good. Well, he did like Inland Empire, 06 like digital thing that was fine, I guess, and a lot of weird shit on his website that are just like.
yeah, I think he got to the point where he's like, I don't even want to make sense anymore.
That's a thing. But yeah,
I think what,
cool.
what leads me to believe that in and out of like, is this a dream? Is that Lena Olin is the type of character that like is not like any of the other characters in the movie. Like she might as well be in another genre of film. She reminds me of the guy who's on the motorcycle in Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
It's like sort of this like
Who is this guy?
that guy, or like De Niro in Cape Fear, or like the Terminator. She's like this unstoppable force. I can't think of any other female characters like
Let me-
that. They're
Let me
usually
just say
male.
this: the antagonist was female. Now, I just think that's hot.
I had a feeling that this was sort of almost like this movie was almost kind of like a fetish thing for you, Sean.
Fetish, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I was
Okay,
13.
Like this movie touches the sexual fantasy realm of your brain.
Let's see if it's
Am
true.
I correct?
I'm gonna
Nah.
get a psychological test on Sean.
All right.
If that's true. Sean, F, marry, kill the 3 women in this movie. You have a loveless marriage with one. You have a no sex beyond
Hey, no, it's not.
You have to fuck one and you have to kill the other. Who would you? In fact, this whole movie is like F, marry, kill.
All right, that's hard, man.
I'm even doing it in my head.
All right, can Judy go first? I don't know.
I don't know.
I can do it.
Exactly. I would. Okay, I would kill Mona.
It's hard.
I would kill Mona because I'm a nice man and I want to save the planet. I would kill Mona.
It's not doing this exercise right.
What?
This is an exercise purely based on your attraction, right?
No, it's F,
That's
marry,
whatever.
kill. You can think about
And
it.
I would F Annabella Sciorra, and then I would marry Juliette Lewis.
You would marry Juliette Lewis. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're essentially just like the character in the film, basically, because that's what he kind of wants to do.
Yeah. But let me just say, he kills 2 of those 3 women. By the way, he kills Mona and he accidentally kills Juliette Lewis.
Yeah.
Which I could see how that scene where Mona puts her, arm there and Julia, I could see how that's kind of weird. But at least there was something there too. But for the viewers at home, there was going to do an exchange. Jack was going to get a new social security card for Mona along with the death certificate for Mona, because Mona convinced Jack to lie to Roy Scheider, the mafia guy, and say that Gary Oldman killed Mona DeMarkov, but just lie. And then in exchange, Mona's going to give him $375,000. So during that exchange, she tries to kill him to keep the stuff and then keep the money, of course. But during the struggle, he shoots her in the arm, and she's like, ugh. And then she with that scene that you described. I think she could get out of there. It's fine. You saw her do it. Guy crashed a car. You jump over and her. She screamed and she got off. But she has minions. Women of the world who are assassins have minions and goons and that work for her. But then she slept with him at the end when she caught him. And I thought it was just that was kind of weird, but she didn't in the end because because she turned him into the police in the end.
Yeah. You just I think you really just love this world that they created and
You made a whole myth about it. There's a whole world in there.
It's like the brain, this movie brainwashed you into some kind of a cult about them. I don't know. I guess that's what these movies have done for all of us, respectively. Because I want to bring it back to this point. This what I foreshadowed in the beginning of this conversation was that I've recognized a pattern in pretty much every one of the movies except for Wizards, but that's sort of an outlier. Every one of these movies is about a character who doesn't know what he's getting himself in, doesn't really know what he's getting himself into, and a hostile environment that's it's like a vice grip around him, and it just keeps squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, generally until he dies or his life is over. I mean, this guy's as good as dead. At least they got that thing right. His life is just meaningless. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's changed. Yeah, his life is
over.
It's changed. He's in witness protection.
His world is over, right? But that happened in Orca. That happened.
Died in Orca.
It's every
Burnt offerings.
We basically picked almost like the book of Job in movie form.
Yeah.
For all, and I think there's we must have some strange subconscious desire to see that kind of story play out in different ways. And some of the ways that it plays out resonates with us more or less. I mean, but definitely that's a pattern. I wonder if we're going to keep going with that, or if we're going to try something that's different.
Next week, don't we have
Tony Arkin coming in as a guest
for the
Beastmaster.
Wait, Tony Arkin's coming in. I think we should do Romeo's Bleeding again because I think if he.
You can call him.
We can talk about that.
We can talk about Romeo's Bleeding.
No, I'm kidding. Let me just say this:
I don't remember Beastmaster. I was so young when I saw it. For me, it was just weird stuff on a screen.
It made me ill.
My sister is upset. My older sister, who's like of a different generation than me, she's considerably older. She's 8 years older than me. Loves this movie. It came out, I guess, when did it come out, Beastmaster?
84?
84.
84. Okay, so she was 10 when it came out. I don't know. She was exposed to stuff very young.
Judy, have you seen The Beastmaster?
I'm looking it up because I'm like,
Wait, we're
I
talking
don't even
about
remember.
Before we end on this, I think
Okay.
of all the people involved in any film we've done so far, Walter Murch, the editor of this film, Romeo's Bleeding, is probably won the most awards and written the most books about the film industry of anyone. Like, he is, like, I was just looking at his award list earlier, and I was like, his award list is longer than some guy's actual IMDb resume. Like, he was a sound editor, he was a film editor, I think he did cinematography. He's mostly known for editing, but he did The Conversation, he did Apocalypse Now, he did The Godfather. Look at Walter Murch's resume. It's like amazing. So I wonder if they brought Walter Murch in to like try and tighten this.
nothing.
Yeah, no, dude, that's the editor's job, dude. He takes these performances that are all brilliant. Because trust me, on the cutting room floor, a lot of these performances are not brilliant. They're not. That's all Walter Murch, like tailoring people's performances.
It's just yeah. That's cool. So yeah, a bunch.
He wrote in
this
The Blink of an Eye,
is
and he
a
was
team
known
of all
for
stars.
editing standing up like a cowboy at a gunfight. That was
No, this movie's a team of all stars, and I'll tell you this. A couple of years ago, I got a hankering for the movie, and Prime. I didn't have Prime at the time, so I just looked it up on YouTube, and they had the final scene on YouTube. There was like a channel that cuts up that just uses like scenes from movies as like their videos, and I swear I almost cried.
Wait, what?
he was.
yeah, I
Almost,
think I did see Beastmaster.
you did see Beastmaster.
I was like, I remember watching this movie when I was little, and there was like a guy with ferrets.
Yes, there's a guy with
And I
hair.
remember being like, I just vividly remember being so concerned about the ferrets.
Yeah, the berserker was going for the
And
ferrets.
them like falling or potentially getting hurt. I can't remember if they got hurt or one got hurt or what happened. I have a fear about it. But I remember this really ingrained itself in my mind as a child.
A lot
I
of
actually
people
knew
remember
the ferrets
this
were
movie,
because of
actually.
this movie.
Will the ferrets get hurt or not movie? A lot of people remember it.
Well, the ferrets. Yeah, I actually looked up when I saw the thing Beastmaster. I was like, what movie was the ferrets? And it took me to Beastmaster. So that'll be a good trip down memory lane.
Awesome. Well, I think we should probably let Sean give us the closing remarks on this podcast because we're right.
No, man, we're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
In fact, we should watch the movie now. I'm kidding. But I did like okay, so the ending sequence where you find out that Mona double-crossed Gary Oldman and got him into the, and put him into the, and turn him in. And Gary Oldman's old buddies are like, Gary Oldman's in handcuffs and he's walking him down. But Gary Oldman, he's just like, when he finds out that Mona like played him and she laughs at him and she does the same thing like this and winks like that was happening in his fantasies, which links the characters together. He just flips it. He goes for his buddy's ankle gun and he just shoots and he kills her. And then he just like goes, and then he puts it in his mouth and he goes for it again. Yeah, that editing and like the way they played that sequence right into like the end with the diner thing, it was to me as brilliant as the ending of Last Mohicans. As brilliant. And like that stuff to me is just really I could see how the editing it was just and then James Cromwell says, "Way to go, Jack. way to go. And in the narration in the next scene, you find out that you know, everybody lied for Jack, and then he's in witness protection, and he got Mona, you know, to save his buddies and stuff like that. And like, it's just, yeah, there's layers of corruption, kind of like the human spirit, but that's just what like noir is. Just like layers and layers of crap, and what we root for are the individuals who try to get through that layers of crap and are not beaten down by life. And I think that's why, you know, even though Gary Oldman's detestable in the movie, that's why I still kind of root for him too. You know, I see his failings, but then I see him like striving for more, and then he bites off more than he could chew. And even in the movie, he says it, Nat, I got caught.
Well, listen,
I
let
play
me
both
stop you for a
sides. I
second,
got
'cause
caught in the middle.
I think you're starting to point to something that I'm trying to, when I'm putting my like charitable hat on, I'm trying to get at, which is like I could see this whole movie as sort of like an allegory for, you know, this is how life works. And like, you know, it's like an extreme version of all the stupid mistakes that we make in our lives and get in our own way. And then this is how it ends up at the end. It's you know, and like,
Yeah.
and he did some things that were somewhat redemptive, and therefore he didn't end up in the absolute pits of hell. He just ended up a lonely guy who can't get reunited with his wife, who's just has a diner on some that the truckers stop at sometimes. I don't know, but it's just basically like, do you want to make something of yourself, or do you want to end up like this guy?
But go ahead, Judy.
I was gonna say there's a scene that alludes to this a little bit, I think, to the overall theme, where he talks about the refrigerator repair bill.
Yeah.
And he talks about how a refrigerator repairman makes, you know, and he adds up how much it costs over the time he worked. He's like, so that guy's making, you know, 200,000 a year or something, and I'm like risking my life like for like what, 50 grand a year max, and he's a sheriff, and so or sergeant. So I think there's this thing, and then they point out in Wolf of Wall Street too, where it's like, you know, you could play by the rules and like have an okay life and kind of struggle, or you could break the rules, and it's sort of like it tempts that, like it goes to that point of like all humans have an aspect, all humans have an aspect where you could commit evil, especially if you're not sure, you're not there to actually pull the trigger or things like that. You can sort of like rationalize it in a way. So I think the themes in the movie sort of allude to that, of like, at what maybe he didn't know how far and how deep and how dark it was going to be, and that he keeps talking about the voice in his head, that like he's hearing the angel and the devil, and so it does go into, I think it does go into that, and that's why he's not likable, because he's always making the wrong choices.
He says he's
choosing
sorry
the
a lot.
easier way.
Yeah, he says he's sorry a lot in the movie, actually. He says sorry at least 30 times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of saying and not a lot of action.
Yeah.
It's pure like addict behavior.
It is, but it's also Annabella Sciorra's movie, because she got her $1 million and then she bought herself some happiness. And he's torturing himself for being tortured by just showing up there every May 1st, December 1st, going through the book, almost crying. And then, you know, there he has like a delusion. He sees like Mona, he, you know, freaks, but then he sees Natalie, played by Annabella Sciorra, and he's like, and he drops the thing and he starts crying, and then she disappears. And then he says, sometimes she stays a little bit longer. And so he's like, this isn't the first time he's done it. And even to me, I just think that's like the coolest thing. Like right until the end, you're still exploring the character. You know, this is his life, like outside, you know, at the end of this thing, he's just like non-existent, because you don't understand where he is. He's just witness protection in this new life. And he's just torturing himself by
living in the past.
Yeah, by living in the past.
Purgatory.
Yeah, I guess, which is, to me, that's why I dig about film noir. If you ever see like the ones from the 40s, like I Wake Up Screaming or Detour or The Hitchhiker, Double Indemnity, nobody really gets out alive. And if they do, it's not the main character. And I just always kind of dig. Wait, Edward G. Robinson was in Scarlet Street. Edward G. Robinson in Scarlet Street. That's a good one. Anyway, okay, there you go.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm titillated by the concept of film noir, and but I guess just it's not my favorite genre.
I get it. It's just so
Me
rare
neither.
to see it now. It's just so rare to see modern ones that do it well, honestly. Like Dark City did it well,
Yeah,
Bound did it really well.
Bound did it well. They're just cops. Joe Pantoliano, underrated. As great as you think he is, still underrated.
The lesbian film noir for those.
It is. Well, that was Wachowski's before the Wachowskis.
you know what it is that I hate in life and art more than anything is style over substance. It's like it almost is the thing that rubs me the wrong way more than anything else. And I'm not saying that that's a defining aspect of film noir, but film noir tends to invite a lot of style over substance type of stuff. And I'm not even saying that that's the case in this movie, but I'm thinking out loud.
I get it. It could be the case in this movie. It's cool because a lot of that film noir came out from those penny novels, those dime novels that were just like Dashiell Hammett stuff, which I read like 2 of his books, 3 of his books.
It's a very stylized genre.
It is, and I dig it. It is cartoony, kind of how he describes some of the characters, and I just dig it. So when you see it, tonally, pretty much perfect. It's a rare gem, rare.
I guess that's why I love Tarantino so much. Because he is he uses a lot of that film noir kind of elements. But he's such a concise, tight, structural storyteller. It's just like he's such a
Sean doesn't like
story.
Tarantino.
No, it's not that I don't like Tarantino. It's just every one of his movies just I find it's best if you just watch them once.
See, I don't agree.
And then don't rewatch any of
You
his
can
stuff.
watch it once and get it.
Watch it 30 times.
Ooh.
You got me. You got me. It's cool.
Even Scarface, right? Scarface is another one of these movies, right? It's a piece of crap, but it's amazing. No, it's amazing. It's an amazing movie. What is Scarface has so many flaws, right?
Oh, I see.
The story, but it's a gripping story. It's a really, really good story. That's why it can be 3 hours long or whatever, and you don't get bored. It's not a boring movie. It grips you because the storytelling is really, really tight. The pacing is really, really tight. It breaks the 2-hour rule, like that you can't have a movie that's more than like an hour. No, it breaks that rule, but people, when that came out in the theater, Harlem was just like, huh? Yeah. Because they get, that's people in the hood that understand a good.
They understood it, yeah.
Right, and that's not easy. That's one of the hardest things I found. All the years of me doing music and everything, that is the hardest skill for most artists to develop, is the skill of storytelling.
Mhm.
And it's the most prized and most valued. So I don't know.
No, I get it. But now I just really want to watch the movie again. And I just
watch the movie again.
I love this.
We're
I
in
love this film. Annabella Sciorra is
John Bon
amazing.
Jovi for pulling his song out of this movie.
I just want to say this is a big time for Annabella Sciorra. She read the script and wanted to do it because at the time she was one of the world's most famous actresses. Hand the Rocks Cradle '91 and Jungle Fever was around that time too. Those were 2 giant films, and she decided to do Romeo Is Bleeding. So that's all I've got to say about that. All right. So, and Gary Oldman, he did this the same year as Professional. It's not like he was a nobody. He did Bram Stoker's Dracula the year before that movie ruled the world. He had his pick. He chose this.
It's not surprising why anybody would want to get involved in a film like this. The whole concept behind it is amazing. It's the only issue for me is the execution.
But that's my point. That I think the wisest person is John Bon Jovi. He agreed to be part of the whole process and write a song for this movie. And then he saw the movie and he was like, yeah, that's not the script I read. I'm pulling my song out of this movie.
Like John Bon Jovi wrote his song for this?
Wrote a song. I think it was called Mercy or something like that.
You're the one who did all that.
I don't know. I can't remember the name of the song. He wrote a song. It's called Always or I don't know. Look it up. But he wrote a song for this movie. And then he saw
I don't wanna read the script now.
he went to the Yeah.
Good luck ever trying to track down an original script, whatever that means.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Dude, it might be on Drew's scriptorama.com.
Yeah,
That's
it's
where
hard
I
to
go.
get them because a lot of
Plug
times
for you.
it's just
Well, a lot of these so-called scripts are transcriptions of the film.
yes, exactly.
You know, it's not what the
They're not the
original.
original.
Most writers don't want you to. They don't want that dirty laundry out there for people to look at. You know, because the movies that.
But she produced this script, so
Yeah, she produced this movie.
she's the producer of this movie, and her next movie was totally handed over to David Mamet.
They ripped it from
I
her.
suspect that she probably had a lot of say,
Yeah.
and this is the script.
David Mamet rewrote a lot of dialogue and a lot of scripts.
Okay,
That's
but
how
let
he
me.
made all his money.
No. Hear me out here. This is what happened with Wag the Dog. She had the concept for this film. She wrote the script, and the people were like, yeah, this movie can't possibly be made because it's completely incoherent. The structure's all wrong. We need to get somebody who understands story structure and good storytelling to come in and redo this. And who's one of the best guys at that? David Mamet. He completely rewrote the thing. He was gonna get a solo credit for it. They were gonna pay her off and wash their hands of her. And she got some legal muscle in there with the Screen Actors Guild, whatever, Screenwriters Guild, whatever. And they went to bat for her and got her like the co-credit. That's what happened with Wag the Dog.
Okay.
Do the math.
Okay, that's all right.
No, I'm saying this is
It's a man's world. It's a man's world.
No.
It's a man's
This is
world.
not, there are
Oh,
plenty
yeah.
of great female script writers out there. There's plenty of competent women in the world. This just happens to be one that I think isn't quite as competent as she thinks she is. This is no knock on women whatsoever.
I understand. I'm
talking about
pulling
this.
your chain. I get it.
There are a lot of great female storytellers.
I just think it's funny that Jack Grimaldi in Romeo Is Bleeding was apologizing so much because I think it's like part of it was like she was writing the character and he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. It kind of got annoying because he did it for like 10 minutes straight in the movie. But you know, like about it. But no, okay, my last point
Listen,
here.
I'll say one thing because we're way past the hour mark here.
Yes.
If any of the movies that we've ever done deserve a little extra time, it was this one. I will give you that.
Just say this. It's a woman writing a man. Now, women know men differently because they have sex with them. That's why you never take advice about women from women.
We got
a whole other show. They could do that for that.
You want to do that thing? We literally set this right. That would have to be a
That's a
complete.
whole other show.
That's my last. Okay. I got it. Thank you.
What about men write werewolves and they're not werewolves? Is that a realistic werewolf film?
I don't know.
She knows men differently than men knows Jack, and that's why he's like that's why he's like that.
And mutants. Anyway,
No,
any closing statements, anyone? Favorite thing about the film?
Romeo Is Bleeding. It's free on Amazon Prime. I dare you to watch it.
Dare is the operative.
And thank you for letting me. I love this movie. I'll probably gonna watch it tomorrow.
I can't even say
I'm
if
gonna
it's
watch it
a thumbs
tomorrow.
up or a thumbs down. It was a fascinating experience. I felt like I was really dirty afterward. Like I felt like I had a one night stand, and like as a female, like that.
Yeah, see?
That's a whole other
You're
show.
identifying as
That's the
female
same
now?
show.
Yeah, for the show. Yeah.
I felt like I just got tricked into having sex against my will. That's what this whole experience was like.
Thanks, Sean. Judy.
Hey.
I don't know if I have any other. The only closing thoughts I could say is that this is truly the beauty of filmmaking, is that it's always going to be subjective. That's what we have awards for, and it's just one of those things where people are going to love movies and people are going to hate movies, which is what led us all here.
So Judy's on my side.
I liked the movie.
See?
I thought it had.
I was kidding when I said that.
I'm going to close with, I would work with this dialect coach. He's got 199 films under his bat. And I would work with this costume designer any day of the week to take some bimbo out shopping and then bring her home. Yeah.
God bless America. Thank you, Abram, for letting me go
Everyone
off. I appreciate it. And we'll come back next week with
The Beastmaster.
And Tony Arkin, right?
And Tony Arkin.
Rock and roll.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Bye guys. Love you.
Later. SeanBarris.com.